now 8:10 up at Westbury White Horse. That's not a bad view to wake up to, is it? It's gorgeous up here. Last night when I was filming, I was so busy looking behind me at the view northwards, I wasn't really aware of what was going on behind. At one point there's a little bit of rain in the air, there's a rainbow. Quite a few people, I think they were camping up there last night, or maybe just coming up here to do what people do in car parks at night, but they didn't disturb me. But what I did find a couple of times was I saw the sky lighting up orangey in between the gaps between the clouds, and my first thought was, oh gosh, there's Salisbury Plain over there, it might be military exercises. I didn't hear any booms, but then I thought, oh well, possibly it might be thunder and lightning because there had been a bit of rain, but again I didn't hear anything to indicate that. But it went on for a few hours, and I'm just hearing booming this morning over there, so I still don't quite know what that was last night, but they're certainly exercising on the plain this morning. I'm just taking in this lovely view. Wow, what a place. The other thing I noticed was you can see Westbury there, and because it's only about 1.5 miles away, it's quite defined and you can see it, and it looks quite big. Over there you can just sort of see in the haze Trowbridge. It wasn't till after dark I realised just how big Trowbridge is. It really went from there right the way along, almost as far as I could see the lights. This bench is so good for making packing up a lot easier. It just acts as a work unit almost. I'm starting to pack up, clean all my stove. The number one unwritten rule anyway with camping is leave no trace. Everything you bring in you take out, and so I always do that. I pride myself in looking back and thinking nobody would ever knew I was there unless they'd seen the tent up. I've even been picking up other people's debris, you know, ring pulls and cans, picked up a couple of dog ends as well. About the sunflower oil, really impressed by it. I sort of thought £2, well that's a bit pricey, but there's quite a lot in there. I gave the frying pan a few squirts this morning, and it's just so much cleaner and easier than trying to bring out vegetable oil. So I think for that, definitely a thumbs up. Just gone 10:30 AM, so it's another late decamp. So I'm pretty much ready to take the tent down now. Everything's packed in the panniers that can be, just all the odd stuff to squeeze in between the tent. Drop the table soon. Same as last camp, I bought two 2-litre water bottles at a local co-op. Because it wasn't hot yesterday, I still had the water in my bottles that I bought from Bath, so I kept that in case I needed it for camping, but I didn't last night. So I'm going to make that into a sweet drink, summer fruit drink shortly. Then I'll be taking the tent down and heading on my way. I'll be leaving that way, dropping down the hill. I'm going to retrace back along that B road down there, because there's a viewing point there, get some really good views of the White Horse. Then I'm going to come back slightly, head that way up towards Trowbridge, Staverton, then get on the Kennet and Avon Canal and ride all the way back to Limpleystoke. I'm going to pass 2 aqueducts, Avoncliff Aquaduct and Dundas Aquaduct, where I'll get off and then just finish coming through the 2 Tunnels Greenway. More about that later. That's the tent mostly down. Folded the inner inside, weighted down with the pannier there. There's 12 pegs in the peg bag already. There's 4 just staking it out. I always know there's 16. I actually count them out every time I put the tent up to make sure there's 16. It only requires 15. There's always 1 spare, but I do pin it into the ground. So 12 so far, another 4. It's very easy taking it down. There's hardly any wind this morning. In fact, it's quite mild. That's it then, the final pack. It looks messy, but most of that is going to go in that 1 pannier with the tent. You can see there's sheep grazing up here, so that's why I take special care with the pegs. I trod on one once, I think it's one of my own actually, years ago, and it really hurt. So the last thing I want is for anybody else to do that, or worse still, an animal to injure itself up here. So it's why I take great care with the tent pegs. All packed up, ready to head off. That's where I have my tent, absolutely no trace left. everything taken with me, and a little bit of other people's rubbish. I'll be tying this to my pannier shortly, getting rid of it in the first bin I can find. The sun's out, it's actually very, very mild at the moment. I've got a windproof just because I know I'm going down a steep hill, but as I recce'd a latrine last night, I noticed there's a footpath along there. I think it'll get me out a bit easier than the way I came in, so that's where I'm heading, then I'll be turning left. That was a much easier way to get out, straight through a gate. Yesterday, when I got on the grassland, I went through a kissing gate, and it's quite a big kissing gate, so it was okay to get the bike through without unloading it, but this was certainly easier. I'm now down at the White Horse viewing area on the Bratton road, so I carried along past the White Horse, along the ridge, and then dropped down onto the Bratton road, and then came back this way, so I've done a very sharp V. This is really good looking back up there. There's the Westbury White Horse. I can actually see in the distance, because I know where it is, Alton Barnes White Horse from here. In fact, I expect there's probably a viewpoint where you could see Devise's new horse as well. So there's 3 within a space. The most I've ever seen in one spot is 3. I tried to capture it on a photograph, but I couldn't do it. I got 2 of them. If you had a 360 camera, you could probably get 3 horses in one location shot. I actually designed a DIY 200-kilometre audax to visit all 8 Wiltshire White Horses, because they used to be 13. Some of them have got lost and buried, but there's 8 remaining, so I visited all 8, and as I was plotting the route out, I thought it's starting to resemble this basic form of an animal. Could I sort of get it to vaguely resemble a horse? And I think I succeeded. You may say it's more like a reindeer, but here's a picture. It does vaguely resemble a horse, which I thought was quite spooky, really. I could have taken a road a bit back that would have taken me north to my direction, but I wanted to come to this viewing point, and also there's another access point to it right behind this car park, actually runs along there. So I'll be where those 2 people are, the walkers. So I'll be heading that way shortly, and then taking a left-hand turn, heading across to the outskirts of Trowbridge, Staverton, where I get on the Kennet and Avon Canal. I've just joined the Kennet and Avon Canal at Staverton, so I came in from that direction, just came down this path, and I'm heading this way towards Dundas Aquaduct on the outskirts of Bath. This canal was a precursor of that railway I saw last night, actually. So in effect, it's transporting goods from South Wales and the west of England up to London. Then of course you had the railway, so I guess its modern equivalent would be the M4. It's gorgeous along here. I haven't ridden along here for quite a few years. In fact, I camped at one of the aqueducts, so I'll maybe talk more about that when I get there. Within a few hundred yards of getting on the canal, look at this. I think this is Staverton Basin. It's all been modernised with all these lovely apartments there. Just passed through Bradford-on-Avon. I'm now at the fantastic Avoncliff Aquaduct. Have to change footpaths here, go underneath the aqueduct, but there's a favourite pub for people who like summer evening meals out there, the Cross Guns. You can see there's a beer garden there, lovely weir you can hear. It's just such a gorgeous spot. There's Avoncliff station over there. It's possible to get the train out there, get off and walk back along the canal into Bath. That's easily doable in an afternoon or a whole day, in fact. That little area over there that I'll be riding by soon with the seats, I actually camped there once years ago. I had a couple of weeks off work, and last minute I decided to walk the Wayfarers Walk, which starts just in West Sussex, I think, in Emsworth near Chichester. It comes all up through Hampshire, and it ends near, I think I might be right in saying it's Inkpen Beacon. Anyway, I just carried on a few miles and got onto the Kennet and Avon Canal and walked back along. And I remember camping at Cane Hill Locks at Devizes and getting here on the Friday afternoon thinking I just don't want to finish, which is why I camped there. The funny little thing is, I was camped there and a guy that I used to ride with in the cycling club came along in the canoe. I can't remember what his name is now, and we were just chatting, and as we were chatting, another guy from the cycling club came along on his bicycle. He used to live in Bradford-on-Avon and he was riding home from his bike shop in Bath. In fact, he was the guy that designed these caribou frames. He was an engineer by qualification but ended up owning his own bike shop, and in fact he moved on from the bike shop to form with two other people the cycle scheme, and they sold it several years back for 3.4 million, so they're each a millionaire out of that. So yeah, fond memories from here. Another memory I have was I was doing a DIY audax in the middle of the winter, and you have to do this snaky little bit under the canal and then sort of S-shape back and come back up the other side. And so I came up here just to admire the view, and I just got completely disorientated because it was pitch black, hardly any lights, and my Garmin doesn't start giving you the route until you've been moving 100 metres or so, and I just couldn't figure out which way it was under the bridge, even though I'd done it before. And I remember it took me about 15 minutes to suss out how to get from here over to there, and it was one of those ones where I'd been sort of dawdling all day, and I got home literally in the nick of time. In fact, I think whatever the time allowance was, say 14 hours and 10 minutes. So I got home exactly on the minute. I very nearly ran out of time on that one. So the stats for this viaduct are, it's 100 metres long and 18 metres wide. Look at that lovely view. So I'm quoting from the Canal and Rivers Trust website page for these locations. Again, I'll put a link to them down in the description below this video. This is the view as you go underneath the viaduct to get onto the other footpath on the other side of the canal. This is a bit that I found totally confusing in the dark. So it's a piece of cake in the lights. You can follow all the signs. Just come around here. A few canoeists. And that's where I was just a few minutes ago. So a few more miles and there's another aqueduct, Dundas Aquaduct. Between here and there is a stunning Avon Valley as you go in through towards Winsley Hill, Limpley Stoke, and then where I'll be getting off at the aqueduct itself. A sharp 90-degree left-hand bend, and here we are, Dundas Aquaduct. And then the canal will be bending round to the right there. I'm leaving it here and heading off left to head towards Monkton Combe and the Two Tunnels Cycleway. The wildlife along here is fantastic. And looking over the balustrade, there's the River Avon, which is what tops this canal up. There's a pumping station along towards Bath a few miles, and there's the Avon Valley Railway. That's the Bath to Bradford-on-Avon line. I've successfully navigated from the canal onto a short stretch of the old Limpley Stoke railway line. I'm going to turn off it soon and cut through Monkton Combe School as I head down towards the Two Tunnels. This line was better known as the Titfield Thunderbolt line because it was used in an Ealing comedy in the 1950s. And this location here, this sports pitch, is one of the classic scenes. It's where there's a cricket match going on and a batsman gets bowled out and they all come running up to greet the train as it comes along. My old art teacher, Mr. Exton from Avoncliff School, assured us he was that batsman in that film. I can't verify that for sure, but I do know they used extras in that film, because another one of my friends, Dennis, he's a cyclist. He was a young boy at the time. He actually lived in Monkton Combe, and they asked the village just to go down and do crowd scenes on what used to be Monkton Combe station, and he's in that, so I know that for sure. I've just cut through Monkton Combe School. It is official, you're allowed to go through there as part of the Sustrans route. The only thing is they ask you to get off and push, and you probably would want to anyway because it's very steep. This is Monkton Combe Church, St Michael's Church. Lovely little episode here a couple of years back. I was just starting to ride around here and I saw the door was open. I thought, hey great, I can have a look inside. I actually quite like going in country churches. And this lady came out and I just remember feeling like a naughty boy that I'd been caught. And she said, oh, do you want to have a look round? Did you want to use our toilet? And she showed me all the facilities inside there. She said, if you ever need the toilet, just knock on the door, and we got a kitchen in here, there's a cup of coffee. She said, were you interested in Harry Patch's grave? And I said, no, I didn't know anything about it. She said, oh, he's buried here. Do you want to go and see it? And I thought, well, yeah, it's just this amazing friendly hospitality. Especially as I said, I thought at first she was going to tell me off. And so Harry Patch was the last survivor of the First World War. So she took me round to see his grave. I'm not going to go there now because I just don't think it's right to film things like that. But it's in here. And as she was taking me up, she showed me another grave. And it's a paratrooper who won the Victoria Cross in the Second World War. So it's just amazing what's on your doorstep and what you find by chance, really. And so whenever I ride by here, I quite often stop at the seat actually, even though I'm very, very close to home. But I always think of that lovely old lady. It's such a lovely, lovely experience, a chance encounter, but a very, very nice one. I'm just leaving Monkton Combe. I've come that way. I'm actually going to turn down this road, which goes towards Midford. But along there, a few hundred yards, I'll join the Two Tunnels Greenway, just after Tucking Mill Viaduct. That way is Summer Lane. Once upon a time, that was the way you went back to Bath, up a really steep hill to come down there, drop into Bath. Because of the two tunnels now, it's much easier. This is a gorgeous spot. So I'll finish off by showing you another scene, the location of a scene from the Titfield Thunderbolt. That's Beale's Farm. So the railway run just down in the dip beyond that hedgerow. The stream's down there. And there's a classic scene in the film. They made out the water tower, I think, had been damaged and the train was at risk of blowing up. So they all run up that farm and get buckets and come down and fill it up out the stream to stop the engine overheating and blowing up. So yeah, Beale's Farm. Now, anyway, on that note, I'm going to say thank you very much for watching. Until next time, hopefully there's another wild camp coming up quite soon.